Do you see that, guys?
Yeah,
Okay,
loud and clear.
loud and clear. So, yeah, actually, I generally it'll be good just to pray into this, and like it's amazing. You can kind of like randomly go along a path, and like, well, you think it's random, or just unknown, and you don't actually know what you've prepared, if it's actually, but the whole thing is trusting that actually the Holy Spirit's in you. He leads you. He guides you in such a amazing way, and you don't always know when you're speaking into people's lives, and you don't even know when sometimes you do. I'm not saying it's always that, but yeah, just navigating life. You at times you don't always know if you are stepping right, or you're going the right way, and plays a lot into our securities and when you're secure in God and you like walking life, you like feel like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then when you're kind of not in that space, you're kind of like, oh, what's going on? What am I doing? So, anyways, that's how I felt a little bit with preparing this thing because like there was so much information. I had no idea like what I wanted to touch on. Uh, so yeah, that's that. So let me just pray. So yeah, Father God, I just thank you for this time together. I just welcome you. I welcome you to just, yeah, just bless this time. Uh, yeah, just bless the connections in relationships and friendships and just what we share in information here. And yeah, I just thank you that you are the most amazing Father God, and just thank you that you put us into family, and thank you that you are always leading and guiding us, and you protect us, and you tell us not to fear, that we can trust in you with all our hearts. So I just thank you for that, and I just bless this time as we share um, in this subject, unusual subject in a sense, with regards to being a believer and Christ believer. But yeah, we just bless this time as we share about cryptocurrencies and the financial system and economics. So yeah, blessed in Jesus' name, Amen. Okay, you guys are there, eh?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird
Thanks,
when you
Vic.
talk to a screen, so I heard no amen.
We-
So you guys are already been like what you call it, demoted or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Banned.
Now I'm
Banned,
keeping
yes.
mine on mute
Shadow banned.
inside.
So yeah, this is just a quick one. Like I just felt like what's the main purpose of this? It's not the cryptocurrencies and all that. It's so this verse in Corinthians when Paul was writing to them and he says, when you come together, each one of you has a hymn, a lesson, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. Let all things be done for building up, like edifying us. If any speak in a tongue, let there be only two or at most three, and each in turn, and let someone interpret. But if there is no one to interpret, let each of them keep silent in church and speak to himself and to God. Let two or three prophets speak, and let the others weigh what is said. If a revelation is made to another sitting there, let the first be silent, for you can all prophesy one by one, so that all may learn and all be encouraged. And yeah, that was in 1 Corinthians 14. And yeah, just that sort of, when they came, I know this was a lot of the time when this is taught, it's about like, bringing order to the church, which there probably was like a lot of Gentiles, they were not Christian at all or Christianese knowing, and like they had to like bring some order or, so it often taught like that. But if you actually look into the word here, you can like actually say it's about like hearing God. Each person brings something. You bring a hymn, you bring a lesson. So every person that gathered in that early church had something to share, and they all had something to impart, and they all could prophesy, and they so each person can bring something. So like for this, obviously I'm bringing something, but if you have anything to share, please share. Um, button. Otherwise, wait, you've got to follow the proper thing here. You must be silent first, eh? Then you can butt in. And yeah, so I just believe God's like really been talking to, well, I've really felt Him sharing and like enlightening myself in this. I know I'm not the only one, and often people I connect with well, not really connect with, I kind of listen to is people on the broader internet, not a lot of people close to me besides Paul and few of us that are kind of maybe talking about this, but it's not very common to be talking about this, at least in church circles, I would say, at least in my circles. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Um, and so, cryptocurrencies. Ed, how much have you actually delved into this? Actually, before I start.
Not that much. I owned a bit of Doge,
Okay,
sold it.
okay, okay,
I own a little bit of Ethereum, very little bit,
okay,
but
okay,
yeah, just very light touch.
okay. No, no, that's cool. That I don't know where you're at with it, and yeah, so this is firstly not financial advice. I'm not going to be sharing like you must do this, I'm just sharing what I feel God's been showing me. And obviously, we walk it out with fear and trembling at times because we don't fully understand or fully know. But it's definitely something God's highlighted for me, and it's definitely something that I'm like walking out um, with God. And it's actually something interesting I wasn't interested in at all. Well, I didn't. I was very skeptical of it, and so like, what is this? Like, what does it mean? What was quite interesting when I actually started delving into it, I actually started more putting it a mirror back onto what we did use for money, and our current financial system and how it works, and realized like what a false system it is, and actually how cryptocurrency, at least the type of technology it is, like what where it's heading towards, and what it offers, and what problems it solves. So yeah, I just called the title. I literally came up with the title here: cryptocurrency, the drive towards the digital age of money. So, and that's an AI picture. Having fun with the AI generated images. They're a little bit
Did you
weird.
do that one, Greg?
Yeah, just kind of went. I think I typed in, it's like text generated, and I think I said something like Renaissance, uh, Industrial Revolution, sh- ships. I was thinking of like that idea of like these massive transformations in history where you've had like the ships that traversed the oceans and how that changed the world, and you had the Industrial Revolution, which changed the world with regards to um, manufacturing and mass production. And I had like Greek philosophers, which changed the way we kind of did language and thought. So it's all these different things. And yeah, so it kind of pulled through. You can see Ripple's sign here. Um, so yeah, so God says in His Word, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I'll strengthen you and help you, and I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand." Is Isaiah 41:10. So most importantly, whatever this is, wherever we're going, God's with us. So we don't have to fear anything. And I know that's the daily walk that we're walking out. Cryptocurrency. Okay, what is it? This just a little bit of just a little basic on it. So definition, and I'm really going to try and keep this focused. I'm not going to go like in depth, like into each thing. I mean, it's such a topic. And first, I should say I'm by no means any expert. I'm kind of a lay person making sense of it and coming to understand it. And how does it work? What does it do? So cryptocurrency definition: cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that uses cryptography for security. So it uses cryptography, I should say. Cryptography. I read that wrong. Sorry, for security. Decentralization. Unlike traditional cryptocurrencies, or traditional currencies, cryptocurrencies operate independently of banks, central bank authorities like a government or a bank. So, yeah, basically they have these nodes. People can host these nodes on the internet, and it creates like a peer-to-peer network. And so no single person can, essentially, the idea is capture the market and like control. And the more decentralized it becomes, the more secure it becomes, the more decentralized it obviously becomes. And yeah, it's very interesting. And Bitcoin obviously being the main one that kind of started this. Blockchain technology, transactions in cryptocurrency are recorded on a decentralized ledger called blockchain. Each ensures security and transparency. So it's like a digital ledger that no person's like actually writing it out. It's code that's designed to capture every transaction, and it keeps a historical record all the way to the very first transaction. So to be honest, a lot of people are going to be, like your Charlton accountants or sort of accounting firms or just different sectors of the banking world are going to find themselves like essentially without a job if they stick with the old legacy way of doing things, and they have to almost be moving towards becoming the supporters of this type of technology. Doesn't mean they are without a job, but they need to be a little bit agile in this period of time, so they can start looking at how they can actually add value to their companies or the likes. Because yeah, it's a massive disruption to the way people are doing or how we're going to be doing banking and the movement of money over the world. And then Bitcoin, created in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, that's a synonym, uh, and not a synonym. Um, what's the term when it's not the actual word
Like
for
an alias.
an alias? Yeah, and it's quite interesting. I actually saw something about a computer scientist in the US. It was quite an interesting thing. And when you spell his name, his name was Lad something. I didn't actually bring it in here, but when you see his name written in Chinese, I think it was, or Japanese, it looks like his. I'm not going to digress here, but it's really interesting. And he was the person that supposedly lived next door to Satoshi Nakamoto, and he did the first receipt of Bitcoin. And when you convert his name from English into Japanese, it looks like Satoshi Nakamoto. It's very interesting. And this guy passed away sometime in the past decade, like 2015 or 2016. It was just a little brief thing. I saw it. It looked really interesting. But we still ultimately don't know who the person is. Um, Sorry, I've lost my thing to navigate here. How did I lose that? Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Next one. Altcoins like Doge and all the other ones. Thousands of alternative cryptocurrencies known as altcoins have been created since Bitcoin, each unique feature, each with its own unique features and applications. And then when it comes to use cases, cryptocurrencies can be used for online purchases, investment, remittance, cross-border payments, and the list just goes on. As I don't think we know where this is going to actually end with the amount of capability it has. And risks, cryptocurrencies come with risks, including price volatility. And if you're in it, you can check how high it goes, how low it goes. It's crazy. And then regulatory uncertainty. In the US, this is a big problem right now because they are kind of regulating through enforcement, as they term it, and they going after different companies and suing them. And the big factor there is it's actually a big threat to the current financial system. And they haven't really got a control over it, so they are using the mechanisms they have in place, or the kind of institutions like the security, what's it called, the SEC, the US SEC, US,
Security Exchange Commission.
yeah, the SEC, yeah, the Security Exchange Commission, to kind of enforce rules and sue different companies. And the company we're going to be mentioning later, Ripple, you'll see how they have obviously been badly hit with this lawsuit that is still ongoing, and we still don't know have a thing after how many years, Paul? Now 20. I think we're
It was
looking at
2018, wasn't it?
no, it was 2021, I think. So we're going like
Was
three
that late?
years. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was a bit later. And then popularity, despite risk, cryptocurrencies have gained popularity as a disruptive technology with the potential to reshape financial systems globally. So you'll see like the ETFs now that they've developed for Bitcoin through your traditional investment firms, so that people can invest in Bitcoin sort of indirectly and add it to their portfolio. And then these investment companies will manage the Bitcoin. So they don't really own the Bitcoin in hand. It's indirectly that it's added to their and because the legal framework's in place to be able to invest that way, and it's a big thing. It's I think that not think I know that's why we saw Bitcoin suddenly shoot to its all-time high. So when you ask like myself, and this is very much my opinion, not my own opinion exclusively, but how I've come to understand where things are going. And if you had to ask me like what are the main cryptocurrencies that I see for the long term that are going to be here to stay and are going to actually offer like proper solutions to the world and to the banks is these are just some of them. It's not all of them, but I just kind of highlighted some of the main ones. XRP, Stellar, or XLM, which runs on the Stellar network, Quant, Algorand, Hedera, Casper, XDC, and iota. They all got their own different use cases. XRP and XLM are very much for like cross-border payments and for acting as bridge currencies or as assisting governments with CBDCs. Quant is there for interoperability, so allowing for the legacy systems and the new financial systems to be able to communicate between each other and simplifying that connection between the different networks and the legacy systems that are still in place and will probably be around for a while as they migrate. Algorand, I haven't actually done a deep dive really on Algorand, but they are certainly making lots of partnerships. Hedera also doing some very interesting technology for some massive companies. They are very interesting, and they work with a very unique, almost like a fourth generation, if I can say it, blockchain, utilizing hash graph technology, as they term it. I'm not going to pretend like I know what that means, but they use some very interesting, and it's extremely fast and very low power consumption for their transactions. Casper, a little bit more quieter. XDC, both probably more dark horses in the sense that there's less known about them. Maybe more XDC. Casper's there's a lot of things they're not saying, and they probably got these two, Casper and XDC, have got lower market caps. XDC is used for trade finance. They're lining themselves up to deal with trade finance in the world. And then iota is connected with the Internet of Things. And essentially, these to work on these networks, you need the tokens. It's like going into a casino, and you need these days it used to be the old tokens that you used to get in the casinos, the chips, and you used to have to play in the casino. You need the chips. Nowadays, you just take a card and you play with your card. But you can't play in the casino if you haven't got that. Same with arcades. You go into the arcade, you need their tokens to play on the arcade system, so you spend money to get the tokens. So the same for these. You have to buy the tokens to work on the networks, and there's a limited supply of the tokens. So there's a set amount, and as adoption happens for each one of them, the sort of the demand for these tokens are going to increase. You can see it in Bitcoin. As more and more people want it and there's a limited supply, the price just gets higher and higher and higher. So supply and demand, and obviously a limited supply, so it just keeps on going up in price. Quite crazy to think that Bitcoin is in South African rands is at like 1.3 million or whatever. It has dropped, but it's over a million. It's crazy to think that that's the price when it used to. I think it started off as $1. I can't remember the exact amount. I think they said it pegged, well, not pegged it, but they kind of set it at like $1, and it's, yeah, crazy thought. I hope you guys are still with me there. It's strange talking to a screen, not seeing faces.
Yeah, yeah.
Still, yeah.
Okay, no, cool, cool. So, XRP. Yeah, XRP. So I'm gonna add some of my personal story into to these things because for me it's been more like a journey. So in about 2012, I've started feeling an impression from God about silver. So that was the first thing. I started feeling about silver, and I didn't do anything about it, but I kept on feeling like silver, 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 not gold, but just silver. I didn't really know what to make of it. God speaks to each one of us uniquely, and so and over time I've developed an understanding for what silver is, what it's used for, and so I do research then into it to get an understanding, because it's not like I'm just blindly either choosing to go into things. I actually go and see, okay, what are these guys doing? Like, what's so so silver was the first thing, and then in 2017, and all I can say, it must this is God directing directing my feet. I met a guy who was big into cryptocurrencies. He was making his own cryptocurrencies. He was a software developer, very interesting guy, and he was like talking about all these different cryptocurrencies. And when I went to go and check out, because I knew about Bitcoin and all this, but I went back in to go and take a look, and this one, like, if I can just say, it kind of stuck out to me. Um, and all I can say now is I believe God like was impressing, like, this is the one to look at, this is the one, if I can say it that way. And I bought some. I bought it at, it was like under R2 at that stage, and I bought some, and that was in 2017, in August 2017. And in about a month it had gone from R2 to R40. It just skyrocketed. Little did I know, I actually bought it halfway on the way up. I didn't realize that it already had just had a spike. To be honest, I like literally blindly bought on a local crypto exchange and bought it, and and that's R40. So in dollar terms, it went from like 0.01. It was like 15 cents, 20 cents roundabout, Paul, and Ed, to $3.40 or 70 or something. Shows how devalued or how inflation has eaten our rand. To think that the rand was more valuable than the dollar in 1980. Now we're sitting at like 20 rand to the dollar nearly. So yeah, and so I just saw it shoot up, and then I saw it come down, and I was like, "What is this? This is crazy! I've never seen something move so fast in value." And that's one thing with XRP, which is quite interesting, is the speed at which it when it moves, it's quite something to see, because when it moves, it's one of the largest market cap cryptos, so it's not a small market cap. So a lot of the other cryptos, they move in the top market cap, but usually not as fast. When Ripple does move, I do it like moves like a rocket. Just I think the other day, Paul, we saw it move. It did a 20% jump in 15 minutes. Um,
Yeah, it's roughly that. Yeah.
yeah, and we worked out the volume was about 7 billion. Hey, it was $7 billion that had literally come into the market in 15 minutes. So that's like phenomenal. it's, um, And so yeah, I did some research. I saw how it's connected with the banks, and to be honest, at first I was like, "Oh, I don't like this thing." Like, it's connected with banks. It's like kind of the antithesis of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's like trying to free the people from the banking system and trying to, uh, while XRP is actually with their company Ripple. I think actually XRP stands for rapid rapid protocol, or Ripple protocol. It's something to that effect, Ripple protocol. And the X stands for, you'll see when it's not connected with any government. When you have a trading pairs, and they give the 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 first letter is usually connected, I think, with governments. I'm open correction here, and then it's connected with like the name. So I think it's not connected with any government. X, so no government connected with it, and then RP. So you get SLVs, you get GLD, you get all these different names, and it means something. So that's how I understand. I could be wrong. So open to correction for that one. I haven't really done a deep dive on its name, but as far as I know, the RP stands for Ripple Protocol, and that is the token, and it runs on the XRP ledger, and it was developed by Ripple. Okay, so I've now got a video I'm gonna show you, and someone did a little short. It's about a year old now, but it's a really interesting video just to show how connected this company and this token is. So here we go. You can give me your thoughts afterwards.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors? Former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany? Former business director at Swift, former Swift board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team? Ripple. Who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website? Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.
Interesting video.
Why do I...
So yeah, don't know what you guys' thoughts on there. It's an interesting video, just showing the connections with Ripple, and like if you delve into Ripple, it's like this massive web of connections. There's just so many connections to Ripple, with different banks, the what do you call it, your central banks, your reserve banks of different countries, and the likes. So I thought I'd just show you how they connected in one way to South Africa, and this is not the only way, but just interesting to see how connected they are, and to bring it local, then you can actually see how they're connected. So who knows what payshap is? I think, Paul, you already know, but Ed, do you know?
No, not me. No.
Okay. So payshap, if you open up your banking app, you'll see an option to make payments through a rapid payment system, or a instant payment system. So what it does is you make payment and it goes instantly from your account to their account. It doesn't actually go through the traditional banking rails to make the payment. So it's a rapid payment program that the Reserve Bank actually implemented, and you can check already over 9 point. This was, when was this? I don't know if I have the date. I cut off the date here, but this was an article, I think now this week. Over 9 billion pushed through payshap in the first year, bankservafrica says. So that's an interesting one, because the Reserve Bank began a payment system. They launched this payment system, and they hired a consortium called bankservafrica, who launched the payment system, and they called the service payshap. And just so you can see the connections here, so the South African Reserve Bank, who did all the testing, this banking service, bankservafrica, who is essentially owned by, this is quite crazy, Absa Bank, Nedbank, Standard Bank, and the First National Bank, who collectively own 92.5%, and then with the remainder, 75% being held by Dandy, Shelf 3, and a consortium of the other banks, Capitec, etc. There's a Time Bank. So they own this. These banks have an equal, not equal, well, at least the main 4 banks have an equal share in this company. I don't know how that's actually legal. I don't know. It's like a banking cartel literally happening in the background in South Africa. And then on all the banking apps, like I'm on Absa, they have this system, FNB has this, all of them have this system. Then what you'll find is that bankservafrica put out a tender, or I suppose they did some proof of concepts and ran in conjunction with the Reserve Bank, if you go to the white papers, and they Tata Consulting Services was selected as the tech provider for SA's rapid payment system. Okay, so Tata Motor Cars, well, they've got a lot more going than just the cars. Massive company, family-owned Indian company. And what you'll find with Tata is that in 2019, Ripple, India's largest IT provider, Tata Consulting Services, just revealed using RippleNet for its remittance services. So bankservafrica, in conjunction with the Reserve Bank, is using Tata Consulting, who in turn is using Ripple. And and most South Africans, we don't even know it's happening. It's kind of just silently happening in the background, and you just.
Isn't this what you asked? Didn't you ask the question to them?
I did, yeah. I actually went on their LinkedIn page, and I didn't ask them about Ripple or anything like that. I asked them, is this essentially a CBDC for South Africa? And they deleted my comment. So then I told my colleague, oh, listen, they deleted my comment. He said, no, man. So he then asked the same question. They deleted his too. So CBDCs have got a bit of a bad rep at the moment. People are kind of, I think, maybe catching on to what a CBDC is, kind of the opposite of what a decentralized cryptocurrency or a decentralized ledger technology is. Distributed ledger technology, or at least DeFi, decentralized financial services, is like empowers sort of the people with hosting and moving things without the central control, where CBDC is a central bank digital currency. And essentially what this payshap looks like is it's a CBDC that's running on this bank through bankservafrica on a ledger that's managed between the banks and the Reserve Bank. So it's essentially managed. So they know peer to peer. You have to I think set up your cell phone number when you utilize it the first time. And to think your cell phone number has been recorded already as well, so you're already connected, your name's connected to it that way. And then when you do transfers, I would say most likely it's transparent to the Reserve Bank to actually see payments from Joe to Peter, and they would be able to see where it's gone. So where normally private banks, your information would be, you would think, separate from there. I'm not saying it is happening like that, but the potential is. And I don't even know how this is legal. I mean, I'm not a bank expert, but how do you have these 4 banks all offering the same service? It does that sounds like a anti-competition, doesn't it? So I hope that sounds interesting. So Ripple's uses XRP as a bridge currency. I would say its main and original use case is to be a bridge currency where it facilitates the transfer of your traditional fiat currencies, your dollar, your pound, all that kind of stuff, and it will. Did we lose someone there?
It's just Google telling us there's 15 minutes left on the call.
Oh, okay. I'll have to cut you guys off afterwards there. I'll carry on by myself here. Hope this. By the way, has this been interesting? I know I'm just kind of talking here.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Okay. I don't want it to be boring you to death here, but
No.
okay. Let me just try and get it back up again because now I've lost it.
I was going to say, Greg, those banks, you probably find they all got the same shareholders.
Yes, I mean, I think what's happening in the world is, unfortunately, with the likes of BlackRock and Vanguard, and just the way things are happening through these markets, is that they've essentially just captured most of these companies, and even the companies here aren't even owned by the guys here. They then are connected with it's like the consolidation of ownership and power is just, and the centralizing of it is becoming more and more commonplace. So yeah, but I'm just saying, you're supposed to have your government there protecting you with your competition commission, and I mean, how are they not bringing this to people's attention? It's just, one day we'll just find out, oh no, there's one bank now, and you're all going to deal with the Reserve Bank, and here's your CBDC, and it's got an expiry date on it as well. You have to use it by the end of the week. That's what they're doing in China.
Like China,
they had like this expiration date on the CBDC. And I mean, there's different schools of thought. I mean, I follow some of the stuff, and some think that CBDCs are not going to actually, they're not going to work, and people are not going to adopt them. But yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. So yeah, this is the main.
Very great.
Yeah.
Just a quick suggestion: we could maybe drop the call and just rejoin on the link.
Oh no, don't worry. It will just carry on, eh? Yeah.
Will it?
Yeah, it should just carry on. I think it's just telling us I think it should just carry on, eh?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it should, because it's Google. It's not Zoom. Zoom tends to do that cutoff. So
Google's done that now. You have to pay extra, I think, to have limitless time.
Oh really? Okay, well, let's see how it goes. If it does cut off,
cool.
Then yeah, we'll just reconnect, eh? Let's see how it goes. Cool. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So bridge currency, this is the main, but it's not the only use case. I'll just show you. There's one little diagram here. Yeah, they're kind of building like this whole product and growing their offerings. They kind of changed names of some of their offerings. One of the big ones is their liquidity pool that they have. What do they call it again, Paul? Can you remember? What's it? But essentially,
AMMs.
Not the AMMs. An AMM is the automated market maker. Just so you know, Ed, it's like a.
It's also like liquidity.
There's a liquidity pool that they have an escrow, and they basically, will loan money like so. What some economic experts say is that we have a liquidity crisis looming or currently unfolding, and that companies aren't able to get liquidity fast enough, and they're not able to acquire. And we have a serious, because the way the whole system's designed is that it needs to be constantly moving. If there's stagnation, if people can't get liquidity to make payments and to invest and the likes, we start having real disruptions and problems in the system. And one of the things with XRP, where they're trying to solve that problem with like instant liquidity, that companies and banks and whoever, the customers can access it quickly. Smart contracts. I don't think actually XRP has smart contracts directly on their ledger. They have it on one of their side their forked ledgers, or their forked there's different there's test nets that they have that they can run tests on. They've got smart contracts on there. And yes, but they've just offer a whole lot of different solutions to. So they're very much a professional outfit offering unlike Bitcoin, which is kind of this nameless, faceless origins, and there's not really a person that runs it as a company. And there's a separation between XRP and Ripple, the company. So Ripple, the company, offers solutions that are built on the XRP ledger, but the XRP ledger itself is open source, decentralized, and isn't owned by Ripple. They've released it to the public, but obviously all their IP is developed on the XRP ledger, and they obviously would like people to use it and they want people to build on it because it adds value and to them as a company. I hope that makes sense. So Ripple is the company. They developed XRP and the XRP ledger, and then they released it to the public. It's open source. People can develop on it, and then the more adoption that happens, the better it is for them as a company. Yeah. So a lot of people argue that it's not decentralized. I think it can be argued with most of the cryptocurrencies out there. With staking on Ethereum, the person that owns the most stake has the most say. The way Bitcoin has a proof of work, so you got to mine it, and there you could say the guys that have the most mining capability, along with the developers, kind of have captured that market a bit. And you would almost say that Bitcoin isn't even actually in its original form, or the way they forked it and how it's developed from its original concept and its original white paper. Some would argue that it's deviated from that original ethos or original intent. I think one thing has to do with the block sizes. I think the block sizes were not supposed to get smaller, and they made changes. So that's that side. And then Ethereum changed from a proof of work to a proof of stake, and that means that you are able to have voting power based on how much percentage or stake you have on the network. And you could argue there that if you can have a lot of if you have some like big whales, as they term it, or that have, which is the case on Ethereum, have the majority ownership of Ethereum, they can decide what gets voted for and how things change. On XRP, they've got a consensus network. So the way it handles transactions is it's like my friend's your friend, and like you have a couple of different nodes that will agree with each other, and then they'll allow for transactions. And then you have the same for the voting. You have a whole host of I'm gonna get this wrong, but essentially those that have a run nodes on the network or have gateways on the network, and then they are able to vote. And I know actually XRP has actually not always, not XRP, Ripple hasn't always, the way they've voted for a certain change has not been processed because others have said no. So they certainly don't have the voting power to, if enough go against them, to make the changes they want. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it did
Okay.
on my side.
Okay. Did that make sense to you, Ed?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. There was maybe a little bit more of the boring stuff that I just shared now. So, anyways,
No, it's all good.
all good.
Please proceed.
Okay, cool. So, tokenization. So, this is a big thing that's happening. What they're doing is that they are looking to tokenize real world assets and digital assets. And what that means is that everything will get like an ID, or already is actually a lot of things. This is already happening, and it's already been designed into the beginning of life for a lot of products. And then the what will happen is that when you buy a car, for example, or you buy a house, you won't necessarily have to go through the tedious process of transferring it, through the traditional paper and lawyers and the likes. I'm not saying lawyers won't be there. I don't actually know how this is exactly going to unfold, but with this technology in its purest form, you could literally make a transfer direct from person to person, and the other person will take ownership of it, and that will be stored on the blockchain, and it will be linked to the real world asset. And there was a article released by Porsche talking about the tokenization of real world assets, and at Porsche they're already designing it into the cars, so that when you go and buy a car, you will be able to buy it directly from whoever the seller is. They'll do the transaction on like a blockchain, um, through a blockchain service. At least there'll be some kind of front end. I think that's the big challenge with cryptocurrencies. They're trying to make it more user friendly, and that's where they're really trying to do some hard work, because right now it's a little bit um, yeah, it's quite challenging for people to try and work with it. And so there's a big move towards this. So I think we're going to see massive changes in the future with the way we just do life and business. And what these things do is it's a total different way of 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 moving value across the internet, and from one person to the other person, or from a business to a business. And the speed at which it does it is, it's going to go from, like, what does a house take these days, 3 months, 4 months in South Africa, to literally you can have it transferred that day. It's an instant transaction. I'm sure there might be some other I's to dot and T's to cross. I'm not too sure like how it's going to look, but essentially that can be the case. And then also, just like the car components, like all the car components are going to have their unique ID, and you'll know which tier suppliers they came from and where did this come from originally. So they tokenize even the components of the vehicle. um, and in a dystopian world, it can be quite like frightening to think that they can tell you every little thing where it comes from, either like an active or passive way of determining what this so you could have like a RFID that's passive, and when it passes something like a scanner, they can tell, oh, this is the asset, this is where it comes from, this is who's owned it. And yeah, and we're moving from like a custodial trust-based system with the current banking system to a truth-based system where everything is on the ledger and it's visible, can be seen, and you're not actually trusting anyone. You actually can see, it's not like you can tell who the person is, but you can actually see it on these open ledgers, where it's gone, who's got it. There's no hiding it there. And yeah, this is just like a little one of these diagrams that someone has mapped out, just like I would say like a kind of a mind map, of just the connections of some of these. You'll see some of the names there: Ripple, Stellar, Quant, hbar, hedera, iota, algorand, and some of these big companies: IBM, Interledger, R3 Corridor, massive company, TradeFinix, who's connected with the trade finance of XTC. So these guys are all kind of positioning themselves to be offering, and when these things really take off, that's when these tokens will actually have massive value, because there's a limited supply. When these networks actually come online properly and are properly used, and eventually the public like goes, oh, this is where it is. It's probably going to be quite hard to acquire what these things. So the idea is that well, what I felt God is he's highlighting these things so you can be a recipient of a wealth transfer into these systems versus because it is going to happen. And that you actually can be a recipient of that wealth transfer when these become the Googles and the um, Amazons of the future. This is quite an interesting one, Hedera. There's some big names, Google, IBM, but anyone see an interesting name on this list? I'll give you. Anyone see anything
Standard
interesting?
Bank.
Ta-da! Well done, Ed. Standard Bank is on Hedera's governing council. Sounds kind of
Yeah, that's interesting.
and I think they're already using it for I suspect they've got this like forex trading app that they advertised during the World Cup, and it made me think that they're possibly using Hedera for that, for the actual infrastructure that works behind it, because
So I
essentially,
see calls about to end, eh?
oh,
It's
does it
going to
say
cut
that?
us off. It's
Really
going across my screen, yeah.
hectic.
Is it not going across your screen?
No, I haven't had it, but I haven't got it open on
I
it.
think I'm going to have to rejoin.
Yo.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay, Ed, you were right. They cut us off just as we were talking about Google on there. um, I must reshare screen here. So let me just share. Share. Cool. Can you see there the screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. There are some real interesting names here, like Mondelez, who's like Cadbury's back in the day. Hitachi, you check Tata is actually there. We're mentioning Tata providing the service to, yeah, Boeing's on there. Really interesting. So, yeah, I'll just continue. I haven't got much more to go. I think we're going to be. So, yeah. So that's Hedera. Also another interesting one. I just thought I'd bring this on because a lot of them, what's happening, I'll explain it this. A lot of them, they're not openly telling you who they're dealing with. There's like rumbles, or like in this case, you actually see names that have signed up to this council, which then you see, oh, these guys are actually involved with this company. But I think the amount of handshakes happening in boardrooms and amount of NDAs that are preventing these companies from sharing who they're working with, I think Casper's one of those. I don't know what Casper's doing. They definitely rumbles there, but they seem to be doing a lot of stuff, but not openly sharing it. So ISO 222. So this is an interesting one. ISO standard. It's a new ISO standard that's been made for the messaging service, the new and updated messaging service for the financial sector, for the movement of value. It's kind of been updated to meet the requirements for essentially these new digital currencies that are in develop, like Ripple or CBDCs or I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly the ins and outs of this at all, but just some background information is that it's essentially Swift in 1970s provided it was pre-internet, if you think about it, so it probably was using like some kind of like telegram, like a modern telegram messaging service, which gives them a Swift code, and then you would use that code to make your payments, and they're still using it today, till today. So you're looking nearly 50 years using the same technology, probably been updated a bit, but they use that to transfer money across the world between the banks. And then when they add sanctions to governments like in Russia, they cut them off from the SWIFT system. And this ISO 222 is essentially the updated standards that all banks and financial institutions and reserve banks and the likes have to come into alignment with. And there's actually a time frame that they have to. This is quite an interesting picture for the roadmap for a lot of these. This isn't comprehensive, but it gives us some picture of what's happening. But you'll see SWIFT being the global payment system. They let me get a laser. So SWIFT, they started in 2022. It's interesting, the date 222, and most of this started in 2022. It was like the off the marks for a lot of these governments or systems like Fedwire, and I don't know all these names here. Swift I know, Fedwire I know, most of the others I don't know. And this isn't all a comprehensive list, this is just showing. And they have to be ready by 2025. November 2025, I think was the date that they have to all be ready and on this new system. And I suspect, my brother and I have actually chatted, and we suspect that this date, unless something happens, we probably this might be one of those, they term it the flip of the switch moment. This might be it. We might find suddenly everyone now is running on these new, has to be ready and running on the new systems. And right now what's happening, like that payshap system that I showed you, which is a local remittance, payment solution here for South Africa, the cross-border payment systems also have to be ready and online and working, and they have to all be ready by this 2025. And if they're not, they get left behind. So essentially, the infrastructure is being laid for this new financial system that's going to be running on blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology. And the sense I have is that God's directing, not maybe everyone, but some people to take note of it and to be prepared for what's coming, and to also be recipients of what's coming, and most importantly because he wants to bless us and he wants us to actually be a blessing to others. It's not like he loves us. He loves us to enjoy life and to experience life, and very much like Joseph got insight into the future and saw what was going to happen, and he knew there were going to be 7 years of plenty and then there were going to be 7 years of famine. God allowed him to prepare and to prosper, and then during the 7 years of famine he was a blessing to those that needed food and the likes. But at the same time he actually sold that, and people were selling land, they were selling their possessions because the famine was so bad, and he didn't just give it away for free. He actually made people pay for it, and he was essentially the second or 2 IC to the Pharaoh, and God used that to actually bless that kingdom and of Egypt, and actually used it to then in a way reunite him with his brothers who had to come there. But I believe God is preparing Joseph's in the season, and Daniel's and the likes, to be prepared for the big changes that are coming. And in 2010 I had a dream, which Paul, you'll know about it, but essentially I had this dream and I didn't fully understand it. It started reoccurring. Well, I can't say I didn't understand. I understood it, and things unfolded in the dream, which I realized, okay, this happened, but I almost feel there was like multiple layers to the dream, and it was both prophetic in things that were going to happen in the immediate sort of time after 2010 during the past decade and then 2019 it reoccurred with this dream. And the one portion was that I was in my work building and I had gifts in front of me, and I felt these gifts weren't for me, but they were actually for others. And in those gifts I saw a cross, which was the salvation, was sharing the gospel and salvation in Christ Jesus. And I saw beads which I believe showed unity that God wants to bring unity to His church and to people. And it's so amazing because right now it's so polarized and so, yeah, there's just such brother versus brother at the moment, and it's not really great. So I believe God wants to bring that. And then the other thing I saw is I looked out the window and I saw our accounts department and finance department staring to the north, and there was this massive storm coming. And you see like those palm trees that are in this picture, the palm trees were like bending flat. And what I've come to understand is that I started shouting out the window. I said, come inside, come inside. But the person right in front, interestingly, was a believer. He was a Christian believer. But he was staring at the storm, and he was like totally in awe and mesmerized by the storm. And he couldn't hear me because of the noise from the wind that was coming from the north. And then this angel closed the window, and I stayed in the building, and that's where the dream ended. And I felt God in time has revealed that this is a warning of an economic storm that's coming. Hence the finance department, and they were staring out, and even believers were. I believe that person represented believers who were so transfixed by the storm that they weren't keeping and abiding in Christ, and they were basically getting taken out by the storm because they were outside or affected by the storm, I should say. And while God actually wants us to focus on Him, and like I show the picture of Him protecting us through the storm. And part of this, I believe, part of it is silver and gold and real assets that are actually going to be worth something, not your money and certain things, but like silver is one that He's really made me focus on from a real world asset point of view. And the other one has been in particular XRP. Not that I believe it's, can it be used for evil? For sure. So it's very much when He tells me that I need to let it go, I don't put my trust in it, but I feel He's revealing it so that we're prepared and can be a recipient before things change, and to receive like a transfer of wealth, and then we pray for wisdom how to use it in the time to be a blessing and to bless his kingdom on earth, and to see people come to faith or being helped. And this is just something of interest. There was a Simpsons episode. I don't know. You guys have watched Simpsons, I'm sure. And are you guys aware of some of the Simpson prophecies?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're aware of like especially that one with Trump going down the escalator.
Yes, it was
That was like,
frame by frame. It was exactly.
Yeah, even that sign that dropped, I was like, what the heck? That is bizarre, So, I do, what the thing is, I'll give my perspective on it. Firstly, I know there is this sort of, in this world, those that are connected to, because you've got the kingdom of light and you've got the kingdom of darkness, okay? And you either have light or you have darkness. There's no there's black and white essentially. And interestingly, there's spiritual principles or spiritual laws, and it's almost like the dark side has to tell you what they're doing before they do it. If I can say it that way, there seems to be this spiritual principle that they almost deceptively, or sometimes in open plain sight, and you just don't realize it until you look back and you go, what the heck, how did they, firstly, I missed that, and how did they get that right? But it's almost like they know the playbook, they know where they're going, they know what they're doing. They may be foretelling their plans through these things. So however it works, I can't tell you for sure, but they got a spiritual principle that they actually got to show you before it happens. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. That's how I'm understanding it. And then, so there was a Simpson episode called Coin. It was about cryptocurrencies. And there was this scene, a very, very short scene that you see on the right there with this gentleman on a jet ski. And actually, the character there in the suit is the guy from what's it? Not Third Rock from the Sun, but the Big Bang Theory. Sheldon. Sheldon is the character sharing the. He's the guy been doing the narrative on this whole cryptocurrency. So he goes to the scene with his jet ski, and maybe we're looking a little too much into it, but uh, one of the craziest things was this jet ski that this guy's on is by a is a um, is the color scheme for the Grateful Dead for one of their albums or their logo for their band. And one of their, if not their most famous song, is called Ripple. And the the company, the guys from Ripple, I have actually made mention of this song and how much they like the Grateful Dead song Ripple. So, um, and it's interesting that they've got this crypto ledger and you've got this Ripple crypto wave behind. You got this wave, uh, and you got life jackets in the US thing, which I think the US is currently facing one of the most hectic situations with its dollar. You have these fins that have what looks like the XRP symbol on, and obviously got surveillance there. And then you got this lady whose name is April, and there's a lot of connections with April, which I'm not going to go into deep, but there's potential that Ripple will maybe know the case might be finished in April. There's also the eclipse that's happening now in April that forms an X. I don't know. Do you know about this X that forms over the US with this eclipse that's happening now in April 2024? Ed, do you
I
know?
didn't know about that.
No.
No.
I'll show you a picture after this about that one. But yeah,
Cool.
sometimes you wonder like, what are they showing us? So that's that. And yeah, so I think the thing about this is like research, and searching things out. And it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but it's the glory of kings is to search it out, search out a matter. So, God really calls us to like search these things out and to test it for ourselves and see, like, is this something firstly that I'm not saying you must invest in Ripple or anything like, or crypto XRP. It's for you to do your own research and to see what if it's something that you feel God's leading you to, and to confirm it. And yeah, maybe it's something completely different, So yeah, so that's my. And then I did another AI picture.
I love the AI picture.
What did you type?
They're
Yeah.
amazing.
I said something like Renaissance as well, and yeah, so these dudes are like on their computer checking out the charts, with two hands. I love how it's like, off this guy's doing devil horns. Can you believe it?
Right,
uh,
right.
oh dear, yeah. So, and then Ripple, Bitcoin. Yeah, I gotta laugh at some of this AI stuff that's happening at the moment. I had to like wonder if that's all dead bodies and like skeletons in the back, or what that was.
Well, it looks like it.
All pretty in the front. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of
Baggage at the back.
yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that was just a little presentation. A little, not too sure, you know, what your thoughts are on it. I'd love some feedback. Yeah, I mean, Paul and I, obviously, we pretty much into it ourselves with, been investing since, as I said, 2017 actually, in this. And actually, while we're chatting, I'll show you that thing, Ed, that's happening in the US, which is quite interesting. I think I actually put in WhatsApp. I did a picture there on the. So I'll just try and find it here. But any questions while I just look there, Ed, or any thoughts?
No, just very, very interesting. It's definitely sparked my curiosity
Mm.
into it very much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my sense, like I'm sure, like it's I find I'm on the fringe. I know that. Like I'm on the fringe, and actually just having three people on a online thing here is a lot, because a lot of the time it feels like I'm alone with this stuff. It's not necessarily the norm. And so it's sometimes a little bit lonely being on the fringe when you're just not thinking the same. You're not, your thoughts aren't always. And a lot of the people that I've often, like, as I said, connecting right at the beginning, is people on YouTube, which I'm not directly talking with, but it's people that I've, and not all the guys. There's some weird stuff in the Christian community with this thing. I think they also like started to get transfixed on profits and money, and I think they're missing the heart of God in it. Too. And I've got to check my heart too. So I can't like say, oh, they are, and I'm not checking myself. Because as soon as you worship money, I mean, then you got problems. I'm just trying to find this. I'll actually just go and search internet quickly for it. Um, Eclipse, USA 2024 2017. So I've got an interesting thing. In August 2017 is the first time I started investing in XRP. And when I saw this eclipse coming, I let me see if this thing will open. I took note of it, but let me see if I can. I'm trying to just get this thing bigger to be able to show. It's a little bit of a tough one when you're trying to use these Google to try and do the. I wonder if I can copy the. Okay, well, let me just try and do my best here. So, can you see that?
Oh, yes. Okay.
So 2017, it came across this path here, and that was August of 2017. And lo and behold, now only like, when was it, Paul? About a few weeks ago, I said, "Oh my word! I just found out I bought XRP when this started." Like exactly that
Well,
month, I bought XRP for the first time. And now,
that's crazy.
April, April 2024, it's coming across here. 4
Wow.
minus
Okay,
8.
April, I'll buy XRP.
and and I'm not saying XRP is going to do, like, I don't know, I don't know. I'm not like, but you know what's amazing
That is
as
very
well?
interesting. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
goes through Nineveh. Like if you do a Google search, check it this out. Nin, as well, Nineveh. Oh, there we go, Nineveh, um, USA. Let's just do a quick search. Maps, eh? Let's go maps. Nineveh. Go maps. So there's Nineveh there, but let's zoom out quickly. Indianapolis. So that path line goes through Nineveh, okay? But if you do a search for Nineveh in the US, there's a Nineveh there, Nineveh there, Nineveh there, Nineveh there. There's a Nineveh
Oh.
over there. There's a Nineveh over there. Now I can't map it over, but if you go to that search, it goes over every single one of those Ninevehs, including the one in Canada. I mean, that's pretty crazy, eh?
That's crazy. But
So what, does the X go through that one Nineveh?
The second line, so this one here, this
that's
one here.
crazy.
See, there's Indianapolis. You see there. So the
Yeah.
main Nineveh for Indianapolis here, where's in the Virginia, that's and it's like it X's right over a there's the one there, but it goes through all
So,
these. It goes there. Goes through there. Check that island. I know the maps are a little bit out, because this one's curving. Check it here.
Mm.
I'll show you. There, like, check how it goes over there. See how it curves over that?
Yeah.
Look at that. There they go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Goes over
So
on
what
there.
date
So
is
there
this
has to be an
that it's gonna go through?
It goes through on April
April.
8th.
Okay, so we'll
With
see you soon.
yeah, with and then it's quite funny because April, as you said, was if you go here, you got April on the thing here, and the ripple wave, so makes you
Wow.
wonder.
Okay.
And Nineveh, you remember Jesus said something to the effect, "I'll give you the sign of Nineveh." I think he said, "Hey, Nineveh." And it was interesting because Nineveh was like it was a Persian, was it Persia? Hey, I think Nineveh was part of the Persian kingdom or Persia, and they were like and Jonah was sent there, and he told them, "Listen, like repent, or God's going to judge you." And I'm wondering if that my thought is like for America, that God's like saying, "Listen, guys, I'm sending you the sign of Nineveh. Repent." Or I'm going to destroy you, kind of thing. Your judgment's going to come, I'm kind of pretty doing it in a harsh way. But that's what happened with Nineveh. And then Jesus says, I'll give you the only sign, they say, oh, show us God exists and all this. And he says, the only sign I'll give you is the sign of Nineveh. And how do you spell Nineveh again? N-I-N-E-V, Nineveh. And Jesus, let me just get the verse exactly. What is Jesus, Nineveh. What is the name of the city of Nineveh in the Bible? What did Jesus say about Nineveh? What do you say again? The men of Nineveh will rise up at judgment with their generation to condemn it, for they repented at the preaching of Jonah. You see, they repented it, and behold, something greater than Jonah is here. You have no excuse. And I'm just thinking, like, we actually need to pray for America and every country, like, yes, they're doing evil, but God loves them still, and he wants them to repent, and turn away, because America's in a bad way. So I do wonder, it's been 7 years since I started investing in cryptocurrencies and XRP in particular, and but and my thing is, if you want to invest, you don't just go and put a lump sum on. You develop a disciplined approach of like just dollar cost averaging, like if it's 100 Rand a month or 10 Rand a month or 10 Rand a week, and you just constantly just put in. You're not, it's not something like you are like concerned it's going to like suddenly drop, or and if it goes to zero, oh well, it's not like you bet the house on it, or that. But the thing is like, if you take that, I'll just get a calculator out here. Like, say, which I believe it is going to eventually become like this, adopted. If you like bought 10 Rand, okay, and say it's only going to be 10 Rand that you ever bought, and say it goes up 10 times its amount, it will go to 100 Rand. So your 10 Rand becomes 100 Rand. Say it goes up 100 times, your 10 Rand will go to 1,000 Rand. So it's not as much what you're putting in, obviously that counts, but it's the potential of its growth as wealth transfers into these new digital assets, and how they will grow. It's like patiently waiting and planting a seed, and then you water the seed gets watered and it grows, and then you just diligently investing in something without the concern like, oh, bet everything on it, but you're just diligently putting in, and then as time goes, it's like 1 year, 2 years, like I would say you need to give this at least minimum 5 years to see any kind of growth, and then 10 years. But as if you don't start somewhere, and I'm not saying it's for this it could be anything, with investment, you just slowly invest, because we get taught to save. Oh, you must save your money. Well, your money loses value like at an exponential rate now. You can't even keep up with it with inflation. So what we should be taught is to invest and find what has value and learn to invest in those things that and I believe this is where God's directing, is showing things that will have value. For me, it's been silver and XRP in particular, and I've just kept on investing in it. And when these big changes and shifts happen, I will then invest, reap the reward of that diligence and investing in something. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Makes a lot of sense.
So it's not to be overwhelmed. Oh, I'm only putting 10 rand in or whatever. Like, just start somewhere, but most importantly, pray and get direction from God. Because also sometimes we're burdened by debt and all that. But a lot of the time, because the world's designed to enslave you into a debt-based system, and there's no way of actually winning against that system. It's rigged against us. And so what I believe we are on the precipice of is actually a massive transition to a new system, and that we are able to actually be benefactors of that change if we are already migrating ourselves into that system. Do I believe that system's going to be good no, I like it, but either way, you're in a system. Right now we're in the petrodollar, fiat currency system, and that's what we work with. But in the background, they're laying the infrastructure, and Paul and I have taken note. But there's a lot of attention given to Bitcoin, Solana, um, Ethereum,
Ethereum.
these kinds of things. But XRP, do you think you hear much of it? They're in the top 10. XRP's been in the top 10 since the beginning. But do you think you get much like positive news on XRP? No. And I think it's because they're kind of doing a little bit of that. And a lot of the information, you'll go onto like a lot of these investors or YouTubers or whatever, and they constantly speak badly about XRP. You're getting nothing out of it. This is where and I get what they're saying, but they're all looking for quick money, quick cash, quick things, and great. They're doing it, but for me, I'm not a trader. I don't trade. I don't like try and buy and sell all the time, and that. All I'm doing is just slowly investing and building a position, and then I let it do the rest of the work when it does its thing. And I believe there's like a Red Sea moment, and it was quite interesting. The Egyptians, when the Israelites, when they're in the land of Goshen, and God told them to leave, He actually told them, now go and knock on the doors of the Egyptians, and go and take their gold and their silver. And there was a massive wealth transfer when the Israelites left Egypt. They took the gold and the silver of the Egyptians, and then they built a golden calf. And anyways, crazy people, And I'm hoping, like, I don't get the gold, and then not hoping. I really don't want to be the one then making a golden calf and worshipping my money. I want to make sure that I keep focused on God, even because I think when you get a lot of capital, you can be seriously blinded again, Yeah, that's it, guys. I think yeah. I hope that was good, and I hope that, Paul, I know you've done a lot on this. Ed, as you said, maybe not as familiar.
No, but it's very insightful and super interesting. I'll be chatting to you more about this.
Yeah. No, you're welcome
Yeah,
to. Yeah, and I think it's to just do your own homework and due diligence on it, and see where
yeah.
God, confirms things for you, in this, and yeah. But thanks, man. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Sure, Greg. That was interesting.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, lekker, guys. And remember, follow the Simpsons, if you learnt anything from this lesson. Oh dear. No, lekker. It'll be cool to. Let me just actually stop this recording here, because now we're still. Okay, well, let me just try.